Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. For those of you who've been following me over the years, this is my weekly program I do for entrepreneurs, for small business leaders, for small women and minority-owned business leaders all over the country. Our job here today is to make sure that you have the most updated, most informative information that's going to help you build your business, execute strategy, create everything that you need to create. And for those of you who've been following the last couple of weeks, we've been talking, we're on a series right now, talking about execution, everything that you need to do to be an execution specialist. No, you're not chopping off anybody's heads. You are making sure that your organization works most effectively, most efficiently, so that you can reach the highest level of productivity possible. When you do this well, there are so many benefits that we're going to talk about today. Today's program is going to be dedicated to effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity, understanding the differences between all of those things. Although a lot of people may consider them synonymous, they are not. And there needs to be some differentiation between those three ideas and concepts so that you know how to run your organization, how to run your team, your program most to the highest level of performance as you possibly can get. This is super, super important, obviously, because in today's time, it's really rough out there for entrepreneurs, really tough, difficult for business leaders. One of the reasons why we do this program is because we understand the pain, the anguish, the anxiety that one goes through when you're talking about starting a business, developing a business, growing a business, and maintaining a business, even creating a legacy that you're going to pass on to others at some point in time. It's such a special endeavor, and it requires so much effort, so much energy, so much input, so much community. And so there's a couple things we're going to talk about today that I want to get you straight on. Before we even get into the program, make sure you've done this. If you haven't done this already, if you haven't already liked us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, if you're not sharing the program on YouTube and becoming a part of our audience in a more permanent basis so you can get the updates and receive all the additional information that we have posted and shared with one another, shame on you. You need to do that. You need to do it right away. Get as many people, many friends of yours, if you possibly can, engaged and involved in this program, because this program, whether you're watching it as a recording later on or you're watching it live right now as we're recording it, is super, super special. It has been for the last 20 years. I used to just sit down at a local coffee shop and just invite entrepreneurs every Friday to come out, have coffee and chat and talk about the things that are very important. I have guest speakers and all kinds of good stuff show up. And I still do have guest speakers come out every once in a while, but super, super important for us to just take a break, let your hair down, relax. It's Friday afternoon. Enjoy yourself. The entrepreneurial journey can wait for another 45 minutes as you begin to expose yourself to maybe some new ideas, some new conversations. Definitely participate in the chat. If you log on and you have a business and you want somebody to know what you're doing or what you're up to, put your information in the chat, put your website in the chat. Ask any questions that you're going to have right there in the chat. It doesn't matter when you ask those questions. I'm not always going to answer those questions because there might be a time where I'm going to answer it during the presentation today. But if it's a question that is relevant to you and your business, I don't care what that question is. Let's make sure you ask it. Let's make sure you're engaged. Let's make sure you're involved and you're awake, because it's super, super important for you to get everything that you can out of this moment. And I do this without payment because I have great sponsors. I have great sponsors. I have great friends, great associates who pour into all the good stuff that I do, including what's coming up on the 29th of July. The Leverage Up Conference, the business conference, is virtual. It's going to be such an amazing opportunity for you to really talk with anybody, to really talk about the high level ideas that are going on in our country and in our world right now that you need to participate in. We're going to attack AI, Chat GPT. We're going to talk about how you can get involved with higher levels of finance and how the new technology is going to be driving so much in the small business community, and learning how to engage with those things and who to talk to and where to go to find out more information about the politics of it all, about the economics of it all, the social nature of it all, the legal responsibilities that you're going to have to come up with, the technological ideas, and then the eco-friendly things that you need to plug into, learn how to get involved, learn where all the resources are. All those things are super, super important. And we're going to be talking about them all at the Leverage Up Conference on the 29th of July. It's a full day, talking about from Saturday morning to Saturday afternoon. We're going to be hitting you hard and heavy with the greatest panelists you can imagine. If you guys have gone to any of our conferences in the past, you know our panels of rock stars are just super engaging, super smart. We don't do any individual contributions in terms of individual speakers and so on and so forth. It's all panel discussions because we want everybody to just be able to let their hair down, relax, shoot from the hip, and really come up with the goods on the fly. So if you miss it, you miss it. And you want to make sure you catch that. Even if you aren't able to attend on the day, you can record that's going to record it and available to anybody who wants to show up, anybody who wants to come by later on and experience it. Today I'm dressed in my Black Panther gear. I don't know if you guys can see it. You probably can't. Wakanda forever, right? I'm dressed in my Black Panther gear because I just want to celebrate the culture. And there's so many things that are going on in the world today that are dividing people, and there's an opportunity for us every once in a while just to do something special. Juneteenth is coming up. I don't know what I'm going to do for Juneteenth. I don't even know how to celebrate Juneteenth yet, to be quite honest with you. I don't know what traditions I want to introduce to my family or what traditions I want to introduce want to get involved in, but I do know that it is a special time for us to come together on the culture and to celebrate, the love and the passion that we have for the African American community. And so this is a great time for us to reflect on not just the past, but also begin to think about ways to build in the future. And there's just so many new opportunities that are coming out this year. New things that are happening all over the country, new events, new structures, new opportunities that are just so powerful. So for so many, those of you all here in the hospitality area, you have one more thing that you can generate revenues around, whether it's the cuisine or the dancing or the music or just the feeling for the culture, the history. That's something else that you can get involved in and do. You want to plan the best Juneteenth party in your area? Go for it. Let me know. Invite me. I might show up. Who knows? All of my information that you want to contact and communicate with me is coming right across the screen. You can find me right here. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like our shows. Don't forget to follow us on various different areas. Today's talk, like I said earlier, I gave you a little preview. It's going to be super special. I mean, we've been talking. Last week, we talked about execution from a spiritual point of view. How do you pull together all of the emotional and spiritual energy that you need to pull together to execute your strategy? And we talked a lot about that. If you want more about all the things we're going to talk about in execution series, do me a favor, hit me up on LinkedIn, hit me up in the chat, hit me up anywhere you want to ask for our series on execution, because it's long and deeper and more deeply involved than I can go into in all the detail here. And I keep updating it as I go on throughout the weeks. Update that whole series. So this will be version 3.7, kind of thing. So this is something that as a labor of love for me. I love to create training. I love to create new programs. I love to get new ideas. If you have new ideas and new things that you have some feedback on in execution that I don't mention, or something that I do mention that you really want to have a story about and you want to contact me about that and talk about it, definitely give me the feedback. I'm looking forward. Oh, by the way, the key to getting that series on execution is feedback. You can't just ask for it. You got to give me some feedback. You got to give me 2, 4, 5 sentences about how you're experiencing the information or how you're dealing with the information. If it's good enough, then I'll give you a free copy. How about that? Usually I might charge like $49 to get a copy of the execution strategy. But if you give me feedback and let me know, how it's affecting you positively or negatively, I take it all. It's all feedback to me. I want to hear it, and I want to hear, why. Don't just tell me I hated it, sucked, whatever. Tell me why, or don't just tell me I loved it, it was great. Tell me why. If you can't give me some really concrete communication that I could really chomp on and really learn from, then it's not going to be good enough feedback for me. So I'm going to challenge you, if you want a copy of the series, if you want a copy of the execution series, which I think is about, let me see how many pages is this thing so far. Oh, there's so much good stuff in here. Oh, I forgot how much good stuff is in here. This is it's only 11 pages. All right, so it's pretty good, but it includes not just the description of all the modules that we talk about throughout this discussion. It also includes a couple of stories that I know you're going to enjoy, and what I like to call my Vision Quest 90 technology strategy, right? So it'll help you create your own strategy on how you're going to execute the things that you need to execute, because your plans are all great. Plans are great. Nothing wrong with planning. We talked about planning for 6 months, right? But what happens when you finish planning? You got to be able to get it done. You got to be able to execute. And having said that, we're going to get started with our execution portion of our show right after these words. Okay, we are back today. We're talking about execution. We're talking about execution. We're talking about performance. We're talking about efficiency. We're talking about productivity. How do you do it all, and how do you do it all with style? You know, when we think about and talk about execution, we're not just talking about plugging into all the spiritual concepts and so on and so forth. There's a real science behind execution, and there's real strategy behind execution that you really have to know. And the questions that you have to ask for yourself, for your organization, are deep questions. So I want you to think about these questions as we move forward. And the questions I think you want to ask yourself when it comes to effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity are these: can you move swiftly and purposefully with the precision and grace that generates a sense of awe? Can you do that? Do people marvel at what you do? Are you at the top of your game? Meaning, when you look around you, you're seeing the best of the best in whatever that you do. Are you constantly at the table with your friends and associates that are playing at a high level in whatever industry you belong to? Do you deliver phenomenal results consistently? And that word consistent is very, very important, because everybody can get lucky every once in a while, deliver great performance, do very well at whatever they do. But can you do it successfully, consistently, so much so that it's almost automatic? Are you the model, the example of innovation and drive for your industry? Will you experience, for sure, the accolades of success that are hereto reserved for the legends in your field? This, my friend, is how the great ones live. This is how those who model perfection live as much as they possibly can. Now, earlier we talked to you about why you want to model this kind of effort, why you want to model this kind of energy. We talked about, the meaning behind it all, the spiritual nature of it all, the being able to do something for a greater purpose than maybe you might come up with on your own, but to belong to a community, to a family, to an organization that's going to appreciate the gifts that you bring to the table. That's all the spiritual stuff. But now we're going to get more into what execution is all about, because it's more than just about getting it done and feeling good and creating power around you. It's about doing it and doing it in style. Nowhere does style count more than in execution. It brings me to a song that I heard years ago when Mrs. Maisel first came out, and I was reminded of a very old song, and I don't know the name of the artist, but the lyrics of the song go a little bit about it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. CCC style matters greatly in executing your process, your strategy, whatever you want to do. And our families, our communities are depending on us more and more every day, not just because of COVID or the economy or all the changes that are coming up in the rapid fire changes that are coming up, but because it's increasingly more difficult to negotiate all those obstacles, to get through and push past and to pay attention to the things that are relevant, the things that matter. in your execution strategy and not get caught off guard or not get sucked into, something that is pretty, it's shiny, it looks good, it may be good, but people get caught up into that all the time. It wrecks them. It's hard for them to come back, and things that we have to prepare for, maybe we're not prepared for, and things that we to be able to hold on through one. When you think about it, and then leaders are responsible for trying to help others create a lifestyle, to create some type of comfort in their abilities to succeed and to drive forward. And that's a very difficult challenge. And those who take up that challenge and actually respect it for what it's worth are able to get so much more out of life. And to me, all these things we're talking about, effectiveness, efficiency, productivity, all this stuff is unique and it's special, but it all helps us do one thing exceptionally well, and that is to become happy, to be satisfied, to be genuinely engaged and plugged in to our families and our communities in a way that we are pleased and proud of our contributions to our society. So let's start today with a basic definition of what execution is. And there's two sides to this that I want you to think about. On one side, execution is carrying out the actions, the instructions, the commands, or movements that are required to make things happen. But on the other hand, it's about the style, the manner in which you bring things to fruition, the manner in which you carry it out, the manner in which you accomplish. So on one hand, that's getting it done, but on the other hand, it's getting it done in a way that is unique to you, in a way that's special, in a way that resonates with you and the people that you work with and people that you work through to get things done. I can't tell you more about that. But I will tell you more about that, but I can't express to you how important that is. You got to have that balance. It's always about that balance. If you want your execution strategy to have the careful balance between effectiveness, have that balance so you maximize productivity, right? On one hand, you have efficiency, which is more about competence, it's more about organization, it's more about structure, it's more about systems that work well together, right? But then there's about effectiveness, and effectiveness is kind of hard to measure. Not only did you get the job done, but did you do it in a way that had value? Did you do it in a way that drove a benefit that you can articulate, that can create? I had a program that I teach called benefit storytelling, right? How do you tell a story and how do you relate benefits, right? These are all concepts and ideas that you have to know to effectively communicate what you want to communicate. But if you don't strike this balance well between efficiency and effectiveness, and you go too far on one end and not enough on another end, you're going to find that productivity lags no matter how you slice it. If you're just efficient, if you're just a machine, if you're just focusing on, making sure everything works well, everything runs well, at some point, humanity taps out. At some point, people lose the energy for it because it's now so systematized. It's now so automatic. It's now so all you have to do is manage it, right? All you have to do now is make sure that, that you keep updating the technology, or updating the program, or making sure that the systems continue to work well, make sure they're all maintained. That's a different skill than it required to put them all together in the first place, right? And so once it gets to that point, it's kind of like, it's boring, right? And people can't be excited about that. But when you talk about effectiveness, you talk about increasingly measuring what effectiveness does. Now what you're talking about is a little bit different. You're talking about value. You're talking about potency. You're talking about benefits that increase, not just something that is, but something that increases, something that you can measure, something. And it's very difficult. So we often don't even measure effectiveness because it comes with emotion. It comes with feeling. It comes with the passion. And it's very difficult to teach this in MBA school, to really teach this, and even in military training and strategy about leadership, very difficult to teach effectiveness. This is when you think about it, efficiency is about organization. It's about regulation. It's about proficiency and capabilities. All these things We could teach you how to create great systems, right? That's easy to do. But effectiveness is more about communication. It's more about leadership. It's more about your ability to effectively, get your ideas across and to plug into other people. So you need to know what's relevant. You need to know what's meaningful, and how to dig that information out to be truly effective in what you do. And I can't explain to you how worthwhile it is for you to spend time asking those questions that we talked about earlier, and asking yourself, how can I get here? What route would I take to get me to the top of my game? What route would I take to sustain a level of success and a level of effectiveness? Is my plan going to get me there? Is my plan, if I execute my plan appropriately, is it going to get me there? Efficiency experts all over the world focus on staff development, maybe, or trimming the fat in the organization. But effectiveness is not about those things as much as it's about, making sure that people see meaning and value and purpose in things that they get to do. And that's a level of communication that leaders are responsible for. I have a program another program I teach called Champions by Design. And when I created Champions by Design, my whole initial thought was trying to help people understand how to get to high levels of execution. Because getting it done is not enough. Really, anybody who has the skill, capabilities, talent, they can get it done, right? Whatever the program, whatever the job, whatever the responsibility, they can get it done. But champions get it done, and they get it done consistently over time very well. They never abandon their post. They don't ignore or shirk responsibilities. They don't tolerate failure in themselves or their teammates. A champion would never neglect important details, uncritical systems, or the key people. Champions make things happen, but they are great while doing it. They're great at making things happen. So when I talked about this earlier, I shared with you how important it is to think about both performance, which is execution, but style, which is also the way you execute. These are two major equal elements to masterful execution, but you have to have that balance. You have to have that balance. When they meet, magic happens. Think of two people standing on top of a mountain named success. These two people, they've known to work together extremely well for quite a while, and they can't imagine being without one another. Performance represents the ability to operate or function correctly. You're showing up at the right time, primed, ready to deliver. It's about putting in the work and accomplishing the task at hand. Without performance, appropriate implementation, literally nothing happens and everything suffers. There's no expectations that can be realized. There's no creation based on knowledge, skill, or ability. This is the very definition of failing, flopping, or bombing, if you will. But then there's style. Style is not about what gets done as much as how it gets done. Style is about the thing that distinguishes one performance from another. It's an incredibly unique, often differentiated technique or approach that one might take toward achieving a specific level of performance. Done well, and this is very subjective, the style which you attack a performance can create a range of emotions and feelings. It can help people reach a sense of comfort or tension, still while being a thing of beauty, of wonder, merriment, and pure bliss. This allows everything that needs to get done with a high level of performance and a level of brilliance that other people can only implement. So what do you have to do? Ask yourself the question, what do you have to do to live up to and blow away the expectations of everybody who has expectations when it comes to what you do, right? I don't mean any expectations about everything. I mean expectations about the things that you do. You've made the plans and now you have to execute. How do you do this like a champion? How do you do this with a level of potency and effectiveness that's unique to you? These are the questions that you need to work on. And if you get the workbook or the series on training, you're going to find that there are all kinds of exercises that we share with our listening audience and the people that we work with on how to become just the best performer that you can be. There's no such thing really as a consistently perfect performance. Things happen, there's slips and falls, there's hiccups that you can't control, and that will affect your performance. But performing the best that you can perform and knowing that you can count on yourself to deliver the best performance as much as you possibly can, as long as you possibly can, you can bring your team to that same level all the time, consistently, regularly. Man, there's no greater feeling on the planet, because as we will explore next week, and you'll understand this, performance moves everything. I'm going to give you an early quote on next week's program, just so you understand this. Ralph Marston said, "Don't lower your expectations to meet your performance. Raise your level of performance to meet your expectations. Expect the best of yourself and then do what is necessary to make it reality." Next week, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how performance moves everything as we continue our series in execution. After that, we're going to go into style and how style moves the language and the soul. And then we're going to talk about the 4 secret sauce ingredients to business relationships. How do you really execute in professional relationships, whether those relationships are members of your advisory council or member of your team? We're going to understand how it all ties together and creates happiness, and how we generally associate with one another. And then finally, we're going to get into what it takes to truly, truly, truly find that human connection and stay on it. We call it the likability factor, the pleasure center of the human connection. We're going to talk about that. How do you create more likability around you? How do you get more out of the people that you work with in a way that's super special? And lastly, when we're going to break down the differences in the understanding of strategy, technique, tactics, and skills. This is in our Think, Plan, and Go For It series. I hope you'll stay with us. I hope you'll plug in. I hope you'll share. I hope you'll continue to come back as we explore various different aspects. Please, if you get a chance, you got to come to the Leverage Up Conference. Information about that is in the chat on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, so you can watch it later on. I'll be rebroadcasting this episode, and so you'll get to see a little bit more about that kind of stuff. If you have any questions, again, any comments, please post them in the chat. If I can't get to them personally, I know somebody listening to the audience will get to them, but I'll make sure that you get top billing. Oh, by the way, another thing, if you want to come to the July conference and you want to be one of our VIP guests, that is a cost item. And that also will be a part of our participants and sponsorships and all that kind of stuff. So let me know. You can find me, and my information is scrolling across your screen right now. Hit me up or DM me. Connect with me any way you can on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and I'll respond. And we can talk about what that might look like. I can organize a special package just for you that fits within your budget, so that you can shine like the rest of our rock stars, and we'll make it happen for you. God bless you. I hope you have a great day. This is Coach Powell signing off. Welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me, and have a wonderful weekend. Happy